Hello. For the first part of this video, I am going to go over my brief history with Super Smash Bros. Single player. If that doesn't interest you, as you are probably a normal person, please skip to this time. Growing up, I never really had games at the same time as my peers. I watched people play Smash 3DS, and by the time I got it for myself, they had moved on to Ultimate. And then I got myself Smash Ultimate, and at that point they had already moved on from playing it in general. Needless to say, I spent a lot of my time watching the others play the games, and I still remember distinctly when I first saw one of the other kids on his Switch playing Smash Ultimate. He was fighting Rathalos, and that was the coolest thing I had ever seen. As soon as I saw it, I needed this game. I had played Smash 3DS at this point and was used to the bosses there, but this was on another level. This was something I had never seen. It was a dragon. That was really cool. So to say I was excited when I finally got myself Smash Ultimate would be a gross understatement. So I popped the game in, and there I was, World of Light. After seeing the greatest opening cutscene I had ever seen, I set forth into this grand adventure, and I loved it. Yeah, so just know, throughout this video, when I'm complaining, I still love playing it. I still replay it every now and then. That doesn't mean I think it's good. I mean, I go to Taco Bell all the time. But that doesn't mean it's above criticism, so I'm going to go over World of Light until I get to a decision I think wasn't very good. So, you start at the top of a mountain with Kirby, and your first battle is against Mario, cosplaying as a Smoky Prog from Pikmin. There is a lot to unpack there. So first off, I don't want to be the 700th person today to tell you that I think spirits were poorly implemented. They definitely feel like a last-minute design choice by a team that had better things to do, which is probably 100% accurate. But come on, guys, it's been 8 years. You could have added character descriptions at this point. What's a Smoky Prog? The whole point of a spirit battle is to elicit the spirit of the character you're battling. If I don't know what the character is, this fight means nothing to me. This is just Mario, but he turns metal sometimes for some reason. Okay, but moving on from that, we first do not move on from that, because we first go back to that, because why on earth is the first battle in this the Smoky Prog? The best thing I can say about placement of spirit battles in World of Light is that it sometimes makes sense. It's like a politician in their 90s who says something kind of profound after trailing off about mashed potatoes for the last 15 minutes. I'm glad it happened, but I'm not going to celebrate it. But this battle is, in my opinion, the worst placement in the game. This is your first battle. And do any of you actually know what the Smoky Prog is? Which Pikmin game is it from? But I get it. They wanted a simple, no-frills fight with Mario for the first spirit battle, which makes sense. It's a good opening. So why wasn't it the Goomba? Now, I know what you're thinking, but the Goomba fight is against 5 mini DKs. Okay, so the fighter doesn't make sense, the placement doesn't make sense, the character chosen doesn't make sense. Okay, let's move on. I forgot to talk about this spirit ability. I'm having an aneurysm. So, after defeating the Frogman, you unlock his ability. Now, what is that? Well, you start each battle with the... what's it called again? Unira. Why? So, this isn't too egregious. It's just kind of a weird pick. I think what would have been a much better pick for your first spirit ability is, let's say, a simple ability that increases an attribute, because that makes a lot more sense and is easier to understand what spirits do from a beginner perspective. Let's say, since you start with Kirby, who has a lot of kicks in his moveset, you can give a simple spirit that increases kick power. Are you starting to get my point? And yes, that is true, but they could have just, made it Mario. And if you think that doesn't make sense, then please tell me why Mario makes sense for this. What is this thing anyway? Great first impression. So as I mentioned before, you start out with only Kirby unlocked, which, as everyone knows, was the perfect choice. He's a good beginner-friendly character, great for easing you into the game, great all-around pick. But after that, you move on to the Crossroads, where you get to choose one of 3 characters. Whichever ones you don't choose are locked off till later. And I think the ones they let you choose here were another slam dunk, perfect decisions. You got Mario, Marth, and Samus. Mario, a close quarters brawler. Marth, a sword user, which is very common in this game. And Samus, a projectile zoner. Probably the pinnacles of the archetype too. And I think that is a great way to ease you into the different archetypes in Smash Bros. On an unrelated note, I've had people tell me that they have trouble telling when I'm being sarcastic, so in case I need to spell it out to you, I am lying to your freaking face. Okay, so before you get to the Crossroads, Mario is forced upon you. But then when you get to the Crossroads, you're again met with one of 3 characters. Marth, Villager, or Sheik. This is a good time to mention that on top of the spirits not making sense, neither do most of the fighters. For instance, there's this area on the right side of the map that is clearly based on Pac-Man. No, it doesn't fit with whatever's around it, but nothing in this map fits with what's around it, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, what character do you think you would unlock at the end of the Pac-Man based area? Is it A, Mr. Game & Watch? Yep. Sure, there are better examples of character placement, but I'm not going to celebrate them for putting the Street Fighter character in the Street Fighter sub-area. That's the bare minimum, people. Okay, so you move on from the Crossroads and out into the rest of the map where you defeat things, turn off switches, and collect stuff to get to the place and defeat the evil thing. Yeah, the story in this game doesn't really matter much. But more than that, I don't even remember how you unlock things in this mode. Like, you kind of just go through beating things up until you can get to another area where you can go and beat things up until you win. On the outside, World of Light looks like a map with a bunch of levels and stuff, but once you get playing it, it's practically an RPG full of random encounters until you get to the dragon at the end of the dungeon. And just like an RPG, at the end of each battle, on top of getting the spirit, you also get skill spheres. I have to keep looking up what those things are called. Honestly, I don't care about them at all, but they are in the game. There's a skill tree. I just thought I'd mention it because it's here. Anyway, on to spirits. So spirits can be equipped to your character to increase attributes or stats or whatever. This isn't a new thing to the series. Think Brawl with its stickers, or 3DS and Wii U with their... I don't know, but they did have something. So first you have your primary spirits, which on top of increasing your attack and defense, also have 0 to 3 slots for your support spirits, which do all the interesting stuff. Primary spirits also have a type: attack, grab, shield, and neutral. These work in kind of a rock, paper, scissors, shotgun kind of way. Attack beats grab, grab beats defense, defense beats attack, and neutral doesn't care. I'm sure using the best spirits for each matchup would help in the game, but if I, who suck at this game, can beat it on the hardest difficulty without ever taking the spirit type into account, I have to ask what the point is. And speaking of, I have to ask what the point is, support spirits. Where do I begin? So support spirits take up those primary spirit slots I was talking about, and typically do a few really boring things. Improve an attribute, start you off with an ability or item, or just negate a stage hazard. Now, improving an attribute is simple enough. They might increase your kick or punch power, special attacks, smash attacks. A 1 slot may slightly increase attack power to kicks, while a 3 slot might greatly increase attack power to kicks. But you know, all that makes sense. Use the stronger ones when you want to focus on one attribute, or you can use the weaker ones and use them for a bunch of different attributes. Like you can use one that increases kicks greatly, or you can use 2 that increase kick and 1 that increases punch slightly. You know, diversify and all that. The problem is, most of the time in Ultimate, you really only want to increase one attribute, the one that character mainly focuses on. For instance, Pit does technically have a kicking move, but you don't really want to increase that. You want to increase his sword attacks. So just choose a spirit that greatly increases sword attacks. Or Donkey Kong, who technically does have kick attacks, but if you're using Donkey Kong, you're probably more interested in punching, so just use one that greatly increases punching. And now for the fun ones, hazard negation. Okay, so some battles have stage hazards, whether that be wind, strong wind, fire floor, freeze floor, sleep floor, poison floor, regular floor, peanut butter floor. Now, I don't hate these. I think they can add a fun challenge sometimes, but sometimes they're a bit overtuned. For instance, there's some battles in the game that have strong winds where you just can't move in the direction of the wind at all. So it'd be nice if there was a way to negate a little bit of that. And there is. There are spirits that you can equip that will slightly decrease the effects the wind have on you. So you can just equip a 1-slot spirit that decreases the effect the wind has. You still have to fight it, but it's a lot more manageable now, and you can still enjoy the fight with the challenge imposed. Or you can turn off the challenge. Because if you just use a 2-slot spirit, it fully negates the wind. Then what's the point of moderate negation if you can just turn it off? Like, will you rather pay $2 for a flu shot that guarantees you will get the flu for a week, but it won't be as bad, or $4 for one that guarantees you won't get the flu? Or $6 for one that gives you superpowers, I don't know. Spirits in this game have one of the worst cases of power creep I've ever seen in a game. There are hundreds of spirits in this game, but why would you know that? You're only going to use like 12 of them through World of Light. I feel like they wanted you to be switching out to different spirits from your different favorite games, but there's only a few even worth using. And that's why I don't feel spirits work in this game. They feel like they were just collectibles that the developers had to assign random abilities to. And you know what they say about assigning? It makes an ass out of I. But like I said, these were collectibles first and foremost. And Smash Ultimate is a multiplayer party fighting game first and foremost. Sure, World of Light may be flawed, but it's still Smash Ultimate. That's why I keep coming back to it. For its many flaws, its many weird gameplay design choices, sometimes I just want to play Smash Ultimate by myself. Sure, drinking alone is never going to be as fun as drinking with friends, but at least you won't remember anything in the morning anyway. Well, thank you for suffering through my ramblings, and if you disagree with anything I said, that makes me happy because that means you actually understood something I said.